too. So I got 5 minutes.
You're supposed to get the drinks before we go live.
I do have one, but it's
all right.
Open another bottle, man.
All right, very good. So, hey, everybody, this is Lance, the Undead Viking, and once again, I am here with the Frog Gods themselves. We have Bill Webb, the CEO, the chief, the guy that signs all the checks. Bill.
How you doing? I'm Bill.
And of course,
watch the channel know me.
His cohort in crime, his sidekick, his buddy, Zach Glazar.
Hey, everybody.
But anyway, so we're here to talk about the fact that this is, this is kind of cool. So I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of background. So if you have no idea who these people are, Bill Webb and Zach Glazar are two of the eminent people that are in charge of the role-playing game company Frog God Games. Originally, this was a company called Necromancer Games way back in the day. This was a game company that when 3rd edition D&D came out, they were the very, very first company, Necromancer Games was. They were the very first company to actually have a licensed product. That was like the big open source, letting everybody, you could create stuff for the games. And they came up with the very first module, the very first ever anything. I think the trick was it went live the moment it came available, right? Because you had access to the rules before.
Yeah, we did. We released the initial release for 3.0 at 1 minute after midnight, the day that the Player's Handbook went live. So basically, except for the stores that were having those like midnight release parties, we came out actually before even Player's Handbook did. Yeah,
perfect. Well, anyway, so then they went on and created a swath of amazing material while Necromancer Games was still Necromancer Games. I still remember picking up Rapin Athuk #1, which I believe was the very first thing that I ever got of yours. And it just blew my mind. It was just because the idea behind it was 3rd edition rules but 1st edition feel, and it totally was exactly that. It reminded me of me being a little kid playing my old school D&D, because it just felt like that with the 3rd edition rules. And so over the course of the time, Necromancer Games had a very, very good customer service and a customer contact thing where they had a fabulous forum where I was a very active member of, and there was a lot of people on there. And as time went on, of course, paths diverge. Necromancer Games became Frog God Games. Frog God Games started creating even more fantastic material for D&D. And the big thing is that I shouldn't say all, well, maybe all, but the vast majority of everything that Frog God has made, they always reference the fact that they were in the world called the Lost Lands. And the really cool thing about the Lost Lands, and I'm going to let Bill expound upon it, I'm sure, but is that it is Bill's, everybody as a kid, they had their very first world they created. And most of those worlds got ripped up and thrown away and lost to the ages of time. But for Bill, it stayed alive. It was his setting, and he kept it alive, and he put all of these things into it. And so, as every kid wishes they could have done, as he got older, he got to recreate, and publish the old dungeons and things that he created for that campaign world with his company. And now finally, so many of us asking over and over again, when are we going to get a campaign book? When are we going to get the Lost Lands so we can actually see it and play in it and play in your world? Finally, after I don't know, man, what has it been, 20 years?
I promised this thing in 2004.
Yeah,
we sort of got sideswiped working on the Wilderlands, and myself and most of the setting type writers that I work with a lot, meaning Vicky Potter and Casey Christopherson and folks like that, just we had no gas in the tank after Wilderlands, and and so that was the Lost Lands sort of got shelved. And then we really needed somebody. Where do you want me to start?
Well, the big thing is, before we bury the lead, I want to say is, after all this time, finally,
it's out.
It's not out yet, but it is being created, and it is being is on Kickstarter. It has funded. It's going to be made. and it's time to get excited and time to be super happy because we're going to get some giant 600-page book or whatever that's going to detail your world. How many pages is it going to be offhand?
Probably around 700. Right now, the two-sided Word file, so double-sided Word file that's being edited right now. The whole thing's written except for one small section of sort of what's the Mesopotamian area, which is called Libnos. The whole thing's written except for that, and Vicky's diligently working on that last piece. So it's two-sided, and I believe it was 628 pages. Zach, is that right, from Chicago?
And Vicky's isn't going to be small. You make it like it's one small part. It's a large section. It's not 100 pages, but it's significant. So we're going to be, I'm going to guess, with art and like the map is obviously giant, separate, and it comes in a lot of varieties. We're going to be close to 740, 750 pages, I think.
I'd say so.
And so if you don't know this, Frog God Games is known for making their giant door stopper books. Just like what was the biggest one?
Czar is 987.
987. Like, when are you going to make 1,000-page book, man? You got to do that,
man.
You know, it's probably never, honestly, Lance. It gets really complicated from both a shipping, a storage, and a production side when you get that big. And so it's we're actually, one of the things we've talked about in the last couple of years is we're shooting for a lot more 400 to 500 page books. The world setting, obviously, we looked at doing it as 2 books, but I would have had to charge $175 for it, which is the reason we made it 1. So I could charge 100 for it instead of 175, because just the production costs on making those gigantic books is cheaper to do a huge book than it is to do 2 half huge books, because they're still huge. I mean, it's still bigger than probably almost anything on the market if you cut a thing in half, right? So we're really trying hard to make it so that our customers can still afford to buy these things.
And we cut it back from what it could have been. It could have easily been a 2,500 page book, because we're doing gazetteers as we go with new releases of the first one we're doing is Ream, and that will be coming to Kickstarter following this one with an adventure path with it, basically an adventure module. And that some of the stuff we saved for those. So
well, just so you know, Ream is a very major city in the world of Lost Lands, and that's what he's referencing when he said Ream. So just, you know, REME. But anyway, I know what that is, but I don't think the people watching would know.
It's another city that's been referenced since about 2001, I think, and it's finally getting detailed. And that I digress. Let's go back to the Lost Lands. So you mentioned that fix that for me. Champagne would be great.
Wow.
I know. Rough, huh?
I love the restaurant you're in right now.
I know.
It's very homey.
I got a really deep wine cellar, for those of you who don't know. But anyway, and my son's a French chef. Anyway, so Lance mentioned something earlier about how most people, we all drew up our own little worlds and that kind of thing. And I wish I could show it to you. And one of these days I'll get a longer cord on my camera and I will show it to everybody, even on your show. But I actually still have my original hand-drawn world map. Believe it or not, my wife lets me keep it in the dining room above the dining room table. So it's about 50 feet away.
It's like 18 by 34 IP violation.
It's bigger than that. It's way bigger than that, man. It's like it cost me almost $1,000 to frame the thing. And because it was so weird sized and huge, and so it's an old hand-drawn thing with watercolor pens and stuff like that. But yeah, it's probably got about 1,000 intellectual property violations.
It's beautiful, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, you showed me a picture of it before, you know, in the past. Yeah. You sent me a couple pictures of it.
Yeah, so the idea being that is sort of formed. I've had that thing since the late 70s, and that sort of formed the basis of half of my game world. The other half was the Wilderlands, and that was the one that was more defined, and somebody else drew the maps. So, it looked better, and that's why we did it first. But the Lost Lands currently is composed of about 158 individual published world setting and adventure and that type of thing, individual pieces.
Oh man, that's just so many.
8, man. And some of those are in 2 or 3 versions, right? Actually, some of them are in 4 versions, because some of them have a 3.0 or a 3.5 version, and then they've also got a Pathfinder, a Sword and Wizardry, and a 5e version. Believe it or not, some of those things are in 4 versions. So we've produced, I don't know how much, 900 individual books or something over the years. I have no idea how many. It's not that many. It's probably 500. But there's 158 individual existing currently as we speak, pieces. There'll be 160 in about 3 months because we're working on a ream and we're working on Sea King's Malice, I believe is the title of the book.
The next book. I do want to say that one hero here that is not here is Mark Greenberg.
Yeah, guy's a hero.
Project manager for the.
I was going there.
He's amazing.
So 2004, as I mentioned earlier, we talked about doing this. Clark Peterson and I talked about doing this, and Casey was involved, and Vicky Potter also was involved. And nobody should ever underestimate what a phenomenal writer that gal is. And so the four of us were sort of working on this, then Wilderlands derailed us. But the biggest problem was we needed somebody who could organize, 700 or more pages of not stat blocks, right? So you're talking about, you're not talking about stat blocks where half the book is stat blocks, right? You're talking about 700 plus pages of pure, whatever the opposite of crunch is, right? So I don't even know what people call the opposite of crunch, but it is just geography, it's descriptions, it's politics, it's alliances between cities, it's warfare between cities, it's different enclaves of the different societies, it's different wilderness areas and giant dragon lairs, but no dragons detailed.
Yeah, and one small island with 24,000 apes. I mean,
we'll tell that story. Hilarious. Anyway, we had to find somebody who was a hell of a lot more organized than me and couldn't be Zach because the company doesn't run without Zach. So we have Zach's got 50 things else to do besides do books. And conveniently, Mark Greenberg, who's a close friend of ours, was a former corporate attorney, like a corporate finance attorney, and really super organized. I mean, I's dotted, T's crossed, as opposed to T's dotted, I's crossed, like I would do. And he retired last year, and from his day job, just like myself. It's a longer story, but a number of us did, so that we didn't all die of having heart failure from high blood pressure. There's still one guy we're working on that needs to. But the idea being, I finally found a dude who was organized enough that could take this massive jumble of 5,000 or so individual pieces, coordinate it with a map with the text, and put it in and chapterize it and put it together in an organizational structure that made sense so that anybody besides me could understand it. And that was the because of course I understood it because I was my ideas, right? But it had to be organized really, really well. And Mark has done a spectacular job. When you see this thing, actually at the last couple of conventions, we've got the dummies there because we got the two giant 3-ring binders about yay thick of just the raw text. And you start reading through it. And I got to tell you, it reminded me of being, 1981. He's going, oh my God, I remember doing that. Oh my God, I remember doing that. And Mark's done a spectacular job, the likes of which I could have never pulled off, man.
We went to Chicago. Bill and I went to Chicago to meet up with Mark and Mark's friend, the big collector named Bill Meinhardt at Meinhardt's house. And we went over that whole manuscript with the giant map that I printed on a tapestry and me and a computer with Photoshop to go in and verify against the manuscript, against our original material, to the map, to the Photoshop, to get the cartographer to make sure the map was correct. And that took us 3 days.
Yeah, it was 3. Well, we were there for 4. We were there technically 5, but we worked really hard for 3.
3.5.
About 10, 12 hours a day, knocking off at 2:00 in the morning. And that's where Zach was telling the story about the 24 or there's a typo in the thing.
We found this typo.
It had 24 carnivorous apes or whatever. It had 24,000 carnivorous apes. Now we discovered this typo at 1:00 in the morning. Okay, after we'd been at it since 9:00 in the morning the day before, and I almost ended up on the floor laughing so hard. And of course, everyone else is Zach's practically crying. He's wiping his eyes.
I was. We need to have this written.
And of course, Mark's okay, well, we'll just fix the typo. And I'm no, leave it there, man. There are 24,000 carnivorous apes on this island now.
And so one of the titles on the Kickstarter is for the Island of the Angry Apes. And that's actually a module that actually was written and turned in. I think Bill just got the invoice from Ken Spencer, who's a really great author.
Yeah, as soon as
I read it, and It's worth it.
I hired the guy to write it. I'm like, okay, well, you made the typo. You have to write the module, and apparently he has done so. So we
Manhattan-sized island with 24,000 really angry carnivorous apes, and it's going to be fun. But that kind of stuff is what makes this a lot of fun to do.
Well, wasn't there like one of the old Tome of Horrors like had a green salad instead of a green slod?
It's the death salad.
The death salad. That's right. And then
that one's because Slod ended up getting taken back as IP from WotC in 4th and 5th edition. So we couldn't use Slod anymore. Well, maybe I could, but I'm not going to be a jerk and fight it, right?
Yeah.
And so the one thing we did keep in the Pathfinder version and the Sword and Wizardry version of the Tome of Horrors was the death salad, because it wasn't a slot, it was a salad.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember also because even though it turned up later, like it made it through the revisions or whatever. And then like we needed a reprint, they're like, don't worry, it's going to remain the death salad. We're not going to rename it. I thought that was awesome.
It's actually been printed as the death salad now in the Tome of Horrors Revised. So Tome of Horrors 1 back in 2001, Tome of Horrors Revised, it was like 05 or 06. And then, of course, the Tome of Horrors, the big one, the big honker we did for...
the new one.
let me actually share a story. So way back in 2001, when the first Tome of Horrors ever came out, and there was like, everyone was like super excited to get that book, because it was like, oh my gosh, because like there were all those old school monsters that nobody had the 3rd edition rules for. But and the book was amazing. But I remember there were problems with the binding of the book.
Yes.
And I remember anybody whose book, when I found out like just how cool you guys were, anybody that had a book that was like falling apart on them because of the binding, like you replaced them. And this is back when that was like now that giant book would be a $90-$100 book, and back then it was like $50 or whatever it was. But I was like, how cool is this? That like everybody was like, and everybody was like, yeah, sure, we'll take care of you, no problem. And that's that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But is that why you?
To the day I die, there's no way, even if I sold like the last 30 copies or whatever I've got stashed in the warehouse for $500 each, I'd ever break even on that book. We lost our shirts on that thing. And by the way, that gets to the point. And I mean, most of the viewers here, and certainly this already, Lance, but that changed my method of manufacture, that single incident. And so part of the reason our books cost so much, for those of you, for the uninitiated, is that we textbook library bind everything. And so our books don't fall apart. Like you can pick up a Slumbering Czar and shake it.
He does this at conventions with actual merchandise.
Yeah, it always
breaks my heart, but it doesn't hurt the book. But I still can't stand it. Really, watch.
Oh no, he's gonna do it. And watch, this is gonna be great if it falls apart.
Well, this is the second biggest book ever made.
It won't. That one won't. You could 44 would.
Okay, no, wait. Let me focus on you. Show the book. Show the actual front of the book.
See how thick it is. It's called the Blight, right? This is the Blight for Sword and Wizardry. So this one's only 954 pages. Okay, so but you can do this, and it will never break. The way we picked our printers was I got about a dozen printers to send me a dummy copy of a 500-page book, and I hit it with a baseball bat until it came apart. And the two that didn't break were Walsworth from Missouri. So quick pitch for them: if you're printing in the U.S. and you're printing black and white, man, Walsworth, Marceline, over in Marceline, Missouri, man, I give them top 5 printers I've ever worked with in my entire life. Certainly the best United States printer, and their quality is phenomenal. They make
this for the new shipping boxes too. Just so you know,
great shipping boxes.
Stuff up that's going to be product. New shipping boxes to fix a problem, and he dropped them from 5 feet, threw them around, kicked them. So, and
this is the Troll Lords use those guys now too. That's because because their quality is so good. But their color prices, like all the rest of U.S. companies, are kind of high. And then Regent, which is the printer we use in China, I give them A+ grade marks. The nice thing about their stuff is they can clay coat your pages, so the color doesn't seep through the page and the artwork's visible. And the only problem with that is it makes the books weigh like 3 times as much as a normal book. I mean, I think Rappahatnock weighs about 5.5 pounds. The 5th edition one does. So
That's why you sell them by the pound now, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well,
Yeah.
we only sell one version by the pound, and we only do that at conventions.
Yeah, and I don't think we have two. We only have two Regent books printed by two Pathfinder books printed by Regent, maybe.
Yeah, only two. The rest of them are all done by Walsworth.
Yeah, but all our 5e stuff, all of our high gloss, high color 5e stuff is going through Walsworth for the hardcovers.
Regent.
Excuse me. And then the last bit I'll add is Zach managed to find a small local printer who'll do 100-pound high gloss paper for us for our soft covers. And Lance, you've seen a couple of these things, right? You've been getting like the little soft covers, like the Orcus modules.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're freaking beastie. So, the one thing I will say is we will make if you're not satisfied with the quality of our manufacture, let me know. But I don't think anybody does as well as we do. I because of Tome of Horrors, we do that.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to assume that was the case. I didn't want to presume and put words in your mouth, but
yeah, that was totally it, man. And I took a bath on that book. It personally cost me $10,000. So it was and Clark another $10,000 and White Wolf another, well, I guess $30,000 or something, right? But yeah, we did a print run.
Lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
So okay, tell us more. I mean, so okay, I want to say this before. This is something that I always felt kind of sad about. So Rapanathek is, I would guess, in my opinion, is kind of like the one product, the giant mega dungeon. It's the one product that people really tie to you, Bill, and tie to Necromancer games, and it's the one thing, like it's I don't know, it's just because it's an amazing book and it's just an amazing dungeon, and I always thought it was so big and like it was so huge, and then like you see the world map of the Lost Lands, and you see it's just this little tiny dot, and then and then you see how big it was. Like it was almost like it was one of those things where it almost kind of made me sad in a way. It was like, because that dungeon is years of a campaign. It's if you want to actually run people through that dungeon and actually go through the 8 billion levels it has and everything like that, it would take years upon years of your players putting up with it and losing characters over and over again and what have you to actually like spelunk it. And I don't even think anybody can theoretically win that one at all.
It's not really just one little dot, right? So Zach's showing the area there. I think we can have him pop his screen up, because keep in mind, Rapanathek's got a whole like Underdark. I can't call it the Underdark, so I'm not calling it that. It's got the Cyclopean Deeps underneath it, right? And the Cyclopean Deeps is the vault of the Krill. We won't call it vault of anything else. That runs between Endhome and Baracus and Rapanathek. So the dungeon actually itself covers a couple hundred square miles if you include all of its underground. So it's pretty big. I mean, that's 3
hexes. So we got 3 hexes.
Well, yeah. It's like 3 by 2. It's like 3 by 2. And so if you take Rapanathek plus the underground area associated with it, and you take Endhome and the lost city of Baracus, it actually, Zach, were you going to show the map?
I'll show it right here.
So go further south. So the mausoleum, there you go. So if you look on there right now, you'll see Endhome, which is the city that's associated with the lost city of Baracus, right? And Dusting Hills, and I think Baracus is on there someplace, but I couldn't really see it. And then you go Rapanathek, because the mausoleum is one entrance, and then of course the ruined keep is the other entrance, and they're actually some distance apart. There's lots of tunnels and stuff that connect those. But yeah, so basically, yeah, you're right, Lance. It ain't that big an area. I mean, it's less than 0.1% of the Lost Lands.
Well, yeah, I would say even less than that. It's no, but it's not a bad thing. And before we get any further, I just asked. So is everything like going to be in the Lost Lands? So I mean, like if I have my Saga of the Northlands, I mean, is that stuff's in there?
You want to show a shot of that?
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
Yeah, the Northland Saga's all in there. The Blight's all in there. Slumbering Czar, of course.
Some stuff that's off map, to be honest.
Okay.
Right. So Northlands are up. They're up here.
Yeah, you see all that white stuff up there, Lance, and of course you're thinking, right? So see where it says World Anvil up at the north end.
Well, there you go.
It's all on the map, though. When you see the tapestry and the big posters, it's all on there. And of course, Sword of Air represents that whole area that's from the vast desert down,
Yep.
all the way down to almost to Bard's Gate. And so if you're looking at where you're looking at now, if you look at that kind of gray the kind of brown waste area with the city of Zen, which is the desolated city in the Sword of Air up in the northeast quadrant. Goo Island I actually have drafted, but it's not up yet. That'll be coming out as an Indiegogo in the next year or so. But all the way down to where it says Freegate, basically that's the Sword of Air, all the green area and stuff. That little gray, ugly area, kind of in the center of the map, is the Slumbering Czar area and the desolation. And I think see Bart, you'd see all this, everything we've ever done, with a couple exceptions for stuff that I just vetoed or didn't like, that other folks wrote that we published, is in here. And
so, the one that's not true that we actually we like, but we can't actually put on there because it didn't fit, was the Razor Coast, which is actually in there.
Yeah, correct.
Could not make the map. It's south of the map.
It would have made the map have a lot of blue on it that we didn't want to have.
Okay, so then will there ever be any kind of a thing where you'll actually show how Razor Coast fits in or anything?
Yeah,
like
we
that?
could probably do something like that at some point. We will. We probably won't do it as part of this product just because I don't want to pay Robert another $5,000 to draw a bunch of blue squares. But, yeah, we'll probably do something like that. And I mean, obviously, so it's in the world, but it's not. It doesn't fit within the area of the current continents that are being detailed. So nor does the Judges Guild stuff, because
we that's on the other continent. We call it the IP continent, and no, but honestly, that's where like the Teagle Manor stuff would be stuff. So
yeah. Though honestly, Teagle Manor wasn't located there.
A lot of stuff is altered over there. We could go anywhere, but we have other agreements. They are what they are, legal stuff. But otherwise, everything we've written, there was stuff I'd never heard of, and I've been here a long time, that they brought up, that was brought up during the whole Lost Lands meeting in Chicago. It really is amazing. So I'm impressed.
Well, I mean, so all my old Necromancer games
They're all in there,
like
man. Hall
of the Rainbow Mage.
You bet. Oh, actually, Pat Lawrencer's one of the authors of the Lost Lands World book, man. I got him to come back.
Sweet. The Grey Citadel.
Grey Citadel. Actually, Nate's in the middle of getting his PhD. I couldn't get him, but he did advise on it.
Okay.
I'm
I'm just trying to remember these. Oh, the Vault of Lauren Carr. I love that.
Vault of Lauren Carr. I wrote
actually on the map.
It's all on the map. But I couldn't get Bill to come back and do it. He's running a really successful fiction blog deal for writers who write like books that are in like grocery stores. I couldn't get him to participate. But the dude wrote 2 adventures for me. They both won gold Ennies for best adventure, and then he disappeared. So
that was Vault. What was the other one that he wrote?
It was Vault of Lauren Carr and Lost City of Baracus.
Yes, Lost City of Baracus, which is
he wrote the whole dungeon for that. I wrote the wilderness and most of the city.
The Lost City of Baracus, I don't think there's a better way to introduce, like a better starting spot to put a beginning adventures. I mean, like there's so many things. I still remember
put vampires in the
but here's the deal. I still remember. I still remember like the looks on my players' faces when they're starting to investigate like the stuff that was going on in the city, and and I just said, hey, this is a dangerous place you're in. You need to investigate if you want, but I'm gonna let you do whatever you want. And these are guys that I played D&D with for decades. So they're my original game group, and they still are. It's guys I still play D&D with. And I still remember when they, spoilers, they heard about like the missing people, and then they decided they were going to break into the mansion that they thought was
Canto Estate, man.
They thought they were going to break in, and then they actually they ran into like a vampire in there, and they're all like level 2, level 3. And they're just like, and so they're like, and the thing comes down and hits one of them, an energy drain, and like, and they're just like, and they, of course, ran out and leaving the dead one behind, and they were just like, vampires? Are you freaking kidding me? And I was like, you went. I mean, I wasn't going to tell you not to go.
Bill Webb, no.
Yeah.
I use that a lot. That works in a lot of situations, but especially in brackets and Rappahannock, but also works in situations at conventions and stuff too. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's some dark stuff in brackets. I actually, the one thing, the two I always recommend for people who are kind of getting into the Lost Lands setting are Baracus and Stoneheart Valley. And the Stoneheart Valley is a little more conventional D&D. Baracus is a little more horror, I guess would be the way I'd put it. And so
Stoneheart Valley's coming to 5e this year too. So
yeah. Stoneheart Valley's already converted, I think, right?
Already done.
We have to buy a bunch of art and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Stoneheart is. I remember my players actually defeating Stoneheart, like getting through the whole thing and it was great.
Did they actually they freed the high priest and everything?
Yeah, they got to the end and they sacrificed their whatever. I think they sacrifice like their constitution or something like that to lock it, and they all got the brand on their arm.
Yeah, they freed that store, huh?
Yeah, they did. They actually pulled it off, and that was like a year. But I do remember, like the signature moment of that campaign was when like the third or fourth level where they went down the stairs to where the basilisks were, and they've been going pretty good. You know, they've been feeling pretty high and mighty. They've taken care of most of the stuff they handled. And I was like, okay, there's a statue. And they're like, okay, what does the statue look like? Oh, it looks like a dwarven adventurer peering forward with a lantern. And it's like, oh, okay, what does it look like? And it's like, oh, it looks like he's shocked. And then one person says, how nice is this statue? Oh, it's really nice. Would you say it's like really well defined? Oh, almost lifelike. They're like, back up the stairs. They all turn around.
Statue instead. That's what my guys would do. Yeah, my girls actually. The teenage girls are the ones who always get all the treasure out of me, and they have been since they were like 6. But
well, don't you have like 8,000 kids or something like that?
I only own. I own 2 and I rent about a dozen. We've got a big farm and of course the warehouse and lots of work opportunities and I've got 6 godchildren that live locally. So we have a huge parcel.
I was there for the Rappahannock. We were putting together to do the shipping for it. They had a rave in the warehouse when we went out to dinner.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they set up after we get done working that night, they set up like my son's a musician, he's a prodigy, right? I mean, Lance, you already know this, and Zach already knows this. Anyway, so he's got 20 instruments. He's of different kinds. He plays 9 different instruments fluently. And he's got a big studio at the top of the warehouse with like amplifiers that'll break glass and stuff. And anyway, so the kids set it up upstairs. My game table is 16 by 12 and built to hold GMC 3/4 ton trucks. And so they were like, they had Dance Party USA going on upstairs in the warehouse. It was pretty funny.
We'll make it clear.
Yeah.
We didn't participate.
Yeah, we hung out on the porch and listened to the music clearly from about 1,000 feet away.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it was. But yeah, I got a boatload of kids. They're all gamers. It's honestly, it's excellent. My son's running a D&D class at his school right now, like for a class.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So steering back towards the Lost Lands, and then like how many different chapters are there as far as like, and what are the chapters in regards to? I mean, I'm not looking for a blow by blow, but I gotta assume
Zach,
there's
organizational structure. I think you can show, right? Because I certainly can't.
I don't have it with me, but I can tell you that it's recognizable because we made sure that it was consistent. So there are all kinds of areas that have been done to different levels, and so areas that we've mentioned but not covered a lot. We hired writers who really filled in not the blanks, because Greg Vaughn, before we started all this, had done a really long and really good job of making sure all the stuff from Necromancer was combined, and we had a Bible to work from. And then based from there, we would add the material, so everything had this is like the capital. This is, the typical things you'd find in the Gazetteer, like the real high level stuff. And then depending on what was there from our products, would depend on how much new, interesting things we would add. So you would see it it's not like an encyclopedia. I think it was kind of like Greyhawk with a lot more like material. because each area gets its due. And
you know when you buy a book at the store, if you're going to like, I don't know, like France.
Yeah.
So let's say you're going to France, right? So you buy the book on France, and it tells you all the stuff that's in the Lorraine area, and tells you all the stuff that's in Paris, and tells you all the stuff that's in Provence. It's sort of like that, only of course, there's no dragons in Provence, right? So, I mean,
that we know of.
That we know of, yeah.
They're in Cousine.
The greatest treasure in the French treasury until the end of the Renaissance was their unicorn skull, right? That's a true story. It was a beluga whale, but they thought it was a unicorn, and that was like more precious to them than the crown jewels, from Charlemagne through, I guess, Louis the.
And that's the kind of stuff, though. Literally, that is the kind of stuff you would read in the Lost Lands stuff. That bring it back, but it has interesting stories. It has the major points you'd see. We have to go through actually on the map and remove some of the areas that had all these little towns that were mentioned in some of our adventures that basically you could see our history on our map. And so we had to clean it up so you could actually read the areas. So it was like more of a high level thing. So that same thing goes inside of the actual book itself. So you will know that there's a town called, Lerenkar, right? Or Jurgenfurt, or any one of those modules. But all the little ones mentioned inside there, all the little side towns and everything that were on the map, we kind of took off. So you could, one, read the map, and two, you will see them in the text mentioned, but they won't be completely detailed like an encyclopedia would be. But we're doing the gazetteers for each area as we release new adventures that will have those in there, have the maps will be a little more detailed, things like that. And the first one of those is going to be the Duchy of Rheims, which will be in late April.
Yeah, the nice thing about this, Lance, and I think you, of all people, you and about Gary Schotter and Jeff Harkness, Jeff edited it, but of the folks who've been around since like the old Necro boards days that had like demon ratings or whatever, you're gonna really appreciate this.
No, you made me officially cool one night that I was on, or maybe it was Clark. It was one of the two of you. We were the only two people online, and I made a post that said, I said, "Hey, I'm online tonight, and the only other person online is Clark," and he's like, "And because of that, now you are officially cool." And he changed my my title to officially cool.
Yeah, it must have been him because I couldn't have done that. I wouldn't have known how. But the point being is that all 158 adventures, even down to like the stuff out of Demons and Devils, Vampires and Liches, all the Quest of Doom books, all that other stuff, each individual adventure
Gobbler
is cross-referenced in there. And so if you start a Lost Lands campaign with the world setting, and by the way, remind me to speak about PDFs, and the reason we're doing stretch goal PDFs in a minute, Zach. But if you buy the world setting and you decide that, boy, I want my guys to adventure in this area, you'll be able to look at that area very rapidly and figure out, okay, I need these old PDFs, or I need these real books that already.
The Coils a set, for example.
The set, man.
The Coils a set. That's a good one too.
And and so and you'll know what's there. And so if you want to stay in that area, you can do it. The reason, by the way, this is a question that came up about 8 or 10 times through emails and also on the Kickstarter. So I just want to address it in case folks are watching. The reason we're not doing a lot of add-ons on this thing in terms of physical products is the stuff won't fit in the box. So at the point that I add 5 soft cover modules to this thing or whatever, it ain't going to fit in a box. I'm going to have to use an overpack box that's, it would be a complete nightmare to get to you, and the shipping costs are going to go way up. And so that's the reason I didn't do it. Does that make sense? So I apologize to people for mostly offering PDFs. A lot of folks already have the PDFs of the stuff that are our longtime backers. But part of the reason we wanted to do that was to get new folks in. The old timers, you guys have most of this stuff anyway, right? But you don't have the world setting to tie it all together. The new folks don't really necessarily know what the Lost Lands are. I had a conversation because somebody stuck my telephone on the Frog God Games website at some point. So I had a conversation with somebody, Zach. This gal called me the other day, asking me about the Lost Lands. I ended up spending about an hour on the phone with her, and it was really cool, because she's like, "Oh my God, you mean you have all this stuff that already exists here? And I can, if I have this gazetteer, I'll have these adventures, and they go right in it, and it all fits transparently within it, and everything else." I was like, "Well, yeah." I go, after 20 years, really after 42 years, it does fit together. And actually, after Mark organized it, it really fits together. Mark and Greg. And that was sort of the whole point, was we produced all these adventures throughout the last, since 2000 or 99, I guess. And we're still producing more, and all the ones we produce in the future will have a cross reference back to the world setting instead of in the reverse case, right?
Yeah, his phone number is 360. No.
Yeah, I know. Well, 360. It's on the web, man. It's
Well,
not hard.
the reason you have it there is it has to be legally. So
honestly, here's the thing, though. I don't mind our fans calling me, because I am a gamer first and a businessman second. So, if people want to call up and geek out with me on the phone about how cool the Lost Lands is, they can do that. It doesn't bother me at all. So the odds are I won't answer the phone if I don't know your number. So leave a message and I'll probably call you back. So, because I get about 1,000 telemarketer calls a day.
1,000.
No, it's actually really unnerving how many he gets. I don't know what it must just be the fact that his age and the fact that he sits in a hot tub half the day.
Right. I buy a lot of stuff online, and so does my wife, Lance, and we're self-employed. So we got all the insurance companies that call us. Like, literally, I probably get 7 to 10 calls from people who want to sell me health insurance a day. And that's no information at all.
You still got my number, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So if I see your number call, I'll answer it.
Yeah, because
but I also 401 blah 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 that I don't recognize from Minneapolis, St. Paul, right? I don't know who it is. I'm not going to answer it. But if it's you, you're programmed in.
Well, yeah, because I got to complain about the Vikings to somebody. So.
Well, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Those of you who don't know, Lance and I are both huge Minnesota Vikings fans, and we've been crying together for a few years on the playoffs. But, was that
Lance does me a valuable service by listening to that.
So talk about the giant map. I mean, I'd be totally remiss if we.
Now, this is Zach's creation, man. So I'm going to let him talk about it. But suffice to say, we paid Robert a pile of money to make something really nice. And beyond that, I'm going to let Zach tell you about it.
Okay. The giant map part. Let's just say that the giant map was designed actually through a lot of people put this together and organized it. Greg Vaughn did a big part of that. That was given over to Robert to do with guidelines about a year ago, and it costs a lot of money. But we made that file. It is one of the 2 biggest files I've ever seen. The other one being the Teagle Manor dungeon. And the reason Teagle Manor is that big is because we're printing it at 14 feet by 14 feet, so you can use it with miniatures, right? This is close, if it's not as big in terms of like resolution and size. So the reason we do that is that this is going to be we have a copy that we store that's going to be available to people. I'll explain that in a little bit to use themselves. But we have a copy we store that's our canon version, where we stick everything on there. And as we go through and things happen or change, or we do gazetteers that add information, or we have other people who've made things that we think are cool, we can add them in. We have a map that is of big enough resolution, size, and scale so we can actually print those in books at 8.5 by 11. So that is why it's such a gigantic file and so high resolution. So when I go in, and you can see all these places up close, and it's really clear down to like, and this is on, by the way, on a website. So you're not even looking at the real file like you'd see in Photoshop. So you go down all the way to the actual level of like the hexes and individual hills, right? And then all the way back out. And so one of the things that we passed, actually, the $75,000 level, was the ability for everybody to, basically this is open content now. So you can write third-party adventures and sell them for money. And you don't have to give us any of that money. We'd like you to sell in our store if we think it's good enough and you want to. But honestly, we want people to play it, and we're not going to beat the Forgotten Realms on the ground, right? We're not. But we want an incentive for people to write to it. If they want to write to a setting that exists, they can write to it. We have a service come up with a company called World Anvil, they're awesome. If you ever want to talk to somebody interesting, those guys are them. We are setting it up so the World Anvil people have it where you can join, you can take the Lost Lands, you have all the information we're going to show you. Like I'll show you, for example, this, and you can see, this is our skeleton part of it, where here's the maps, here's all the parts of the Lost Lands, and here, for instance, we'll go to Bard's Gate, which is right there. We'll go to Bard's Gate, and then Bard's Gate has all the information coming up all about it. There's the city, there's got a tent city, got the roads, you can pull down and say, they're the districts will show up. And you go close on there and you see, oh, there we are on here. And then we new things and everything else. And that's available to everybody, right? So for a minimum, like $1 a month or something really cheap, we want the World Ammo guys have that. You go in there at, I think it's that level, you can totally go in and make your own shard, your own copy. And you can do all the changes you want to your Lost Lands, do anything you want to it, and you can publish that stuff. And that's what we want to be able to do. We want to give you the tools to do it. We have a guy named John Barnhouse. He goes by Pex. Pex is currently my hero. Bill was my hero. Pex is my hero this week, though.
Pex is my hero this week, too.
He's awesome, and he's working with a team of guys who are from our Discord server who are making this happen for the whole Lost Lands. And so this is going to be a tool available to do this. And if you like doing this stuff and you want to make some third-party modules or PDFs, and say you think you want to use some of our 2,500 pieces of black and white art that we don't use anymore, well, we're going to let you do that too, because we want to see publishers make cool, fun stuff that they can use for home campaigns, that they can sell, and really great stuff we'd like to include if they want us to include it, because we're not going to demand they give it to us. We actually want this to be the coolest, freest, and most open commercial IP available, and at $75,000, it became that. So this is what people are going to see. Like I said, the ability to produce don't cost you nothing. You got to follow the license. License is simple. It's basically, if you wouldn't show it to your grandmother, and your grandmother's a normal person, you can do it. Like, we don't want any pornography, no robo politics, no isms, no hate. But and we're real loose on that. We want it to be as open as everybody to make stuff as we want. If you want to make stuff for like Lamentations Flame Princess, but in the Lost Lands, we don't care. We'd like you to let us know. We'd like to promote some of it, but we want it available. So anyway, to get to this stuff, you pay like $1 a month to be able to get to the World Anvil stuff, so you could use all these tools with it and then promote it.
Well, don't go with $1 yet.
You get like art and everything else, and it's part of what we already passed, the 75,000. We blew by that. So now we're getting at the 105,000 is our next stretch goal. We're using at 1,000 backers, you get a copy of Bardscape, which is in PDF, which is a great book. It's a really great starting location for a central hub city.
Oh, and there's an entire, you could run an entire year-long campaign in that city by itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of stuff is going to make this really, really useful, I think, because for more modern campaigns, because you want to play on VTTs, they're going to have, World Amble people are working to have really good resources for that. I can't talk about a lot of it because it's under NDA because they're developing it. But Demetrius and I wish I could remember her name, the business side of it, they're awesome. And they want to make this happen real bad with us. And Bill was really cool when I first suggested, like, hey, we should open this up and let people do it for free. He didn't have a heart attack. And I owe him for the rest of my life. I owe him for not having that heart attack.
It's a legacy for me. I mean, if people are playing, D&D in my world, that's like the coolest compliment I can be paid. I've sort of dedicated my life to doing this, right? So, it's pretty neat, and I want more people making more stuff, and they can just do it. I'm not going to take a piece of their action. There would be some circumstances that Zach can maybe go into.
There would be circumstances that, honestly, for instance, anything we publish for like 18 months or 24 months, we're going to have you can't make Rapid Ethic 2 and Rapid Ethic 5e for like 24 months. After that, if you want to use that as a stepping stone, go ahead. But brand new material, we want to have a cycle, about the same cycle we give a royalty to an author for, as the life cycle of that product. But after that, man, if you write Rapid Ethic 2 and it's great, we might buy it from you. I mean, we want people to make it your world. If you make it your world now and you want to write something for it and you think it's great, but it's because it's got our IP all over it, we don't want that to stop you.
Right.
We love making games and making them cool, and we want to give the tools that we've got as cheaply and as freely available to other people so they can make games too, because I love this. Bill loves it. Bill loves it more than anybody I've ever met.
And understand, so we're going to charge a fee for this at all is to pay for Pex and those guys' costs and to pay our artists, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like we're putting their art up for free. Well, not for free. So let's say $1 a month might not be the right number. I don't know what
it might be. There's different levels. There's like 3 or 4 different levels. But
it ain't gonna be very much. The idea being, we want to make sure our artists get paid. We pay our artists really well, and we pay our writers really well, and we pay we like to make sure everybody who we work with is fairly compensated for stuff. And so Pex and those guys actually didn't want to take a fee for this, and we were like, no. You don't get to do that. You guys have to.
Guys doing the work on here now, they're going to get compensated with this. And the whole point of any monetization of this part of it goes to make sure the guys who make it cool and to keep the tools available and do the interaction with customers, they're not get. Mind you, I know Pex was disappointed to hear this. He's not going to make $60,000 a year doing this, but he is going to get money for the work he's done. And he's going to get the recognition for it too, and so the other guys. And this is how we can do it. Otherwise, there's no way to make these tools available as well. You can't be able to shard it. With this, you can shard it yourself, put it up. You have your own Lost Lands, your own everything else. Yeah. You are able to do your own pins, your own add-ins, your own notes, your own everything, and you can share it with other people who have it, or share it with us, and we can promote it in the real stuff. I mean, this is really new stuff that's really neat, and we think it's going to be a great time for people to be able to share their works without the pain in the ass that involves.
Well, if you're making cool stuff to set in the Lost Lands, you can be darn sure that we're going to say something about it in our newsletter and everything else. So if we're liking the stuff that people are making, they're going to get pumped up by us, because we want people. It makes business sense. It makes it's a really cool ego trip for me, and again, it just like as a gamer, not as a businessman. It made a lot of sense, and basically Zach and Matt convinced me it wasn't going to cost me a whole bunch of money, that we could do it and it wouldn't cost me anything. And so at that point I was all in, because I think it's, if people can take our creative material, expand it with their creative material, sell it and make money or whatever, if they want to, or not if they don't want to, but they can do all those things. And if it's good stuff, we're gonna talk about it to people and everything else. I mean, I think it didn't take Zach very long to talk me into it. I think about 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's right there. But I expected a little more pushback. But honestly, it comes down to, do you want it played in, or do you want to have to sue people over stuff? And we don't want to.
I want people to play. I want people to play in our world, and I want people to. And if they want to add a new continent, knock yourself out, man. I mean, just like. But I think
it's give you Robert's number, and he'll charge you what he charges us.
I don't think those DIY guys that want to pay those fees, but
but you'll have the tools to see it and do it. And honestly, the other part of some of the different tier levels we're going to have with this is that there'll be levels where I will come in and we'll do like an online video chat in Discord where I will talk a little bit about production and about such, and Chuck might give a little bit of talk about, a little bit about layout talk, to just so people who are interested in doing these things, not necessarily professionally, but really slick. We want to give them the tools to do it, and we're going to give them a little bit of our expertise and stuff as well to make it valuable as you go. And right now, if you're in the top levels of our Kickstarter now, you are a lifetime member of all that stuff for as long as we can make it last. And so that's one of the goals with that as well. So,
well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So okay, let's just nuts and bolts then. So what rule set is the book being made for? All. Okay.
The world setting itself is. Hey Zach, did you have that other conversation so I can mention a discussion we're having with anybody else or not?
I don't remember which conversation you're talking about.
Phil.
That sounds really secretive.
No, but I talked with Steve, and Steve, I think there's enough you can say as a hint.
Okay, so basically, obviously, it's a systemless book. This book's going to be systemless. When people pledge on the Kickstarter, they can tell me during backer kit, whether on the PDFs and stuff for the extras, whether they want 5e, Pathfinder, or Sword and Wizardry. Those are the three we got right now. We have not got a deal inked. Okay, so caveat, pillows over all of it. We don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I love the Fantasy Trip game system, and we might start supporting that. Where Steve and I talked about it, we don't have a deal yet, and so we might start doing a little bit of support there as well. We're probably out of Pathfinder. Not saying no forever. We might still support Pathfinder 1.0 or some variant of that.
Hey Lance, watch this. We'll be doing Pathfinder 1.0 for at least the next 9 months, and all the support.
There you go.
I want to make sure.
There you go. Well, and
Michael Morris Russell, who's doing a really good job, and I don't want him to think he's going to get fired because he's doing great. And he's also doing the work for the Pathfinder rules section part, because we have rules like domains for clerics and a few gods things and feats and archetype classes for 5e and Pathfinder, not Swords and Wizardry.
Oh, hell,
I'll be able to do this Kickstarter too. So
Fire-
we're not telling you that and stopping supporting Pathfinder 1. I just want to interrupt that. That's all.
Pathfinder, we're not going to do Pathfinder 2.0 at this point. We're not planning.
That's true.
Pathfinder 1.0, we're probably going to still continue to support because we have a really good guy who's really motivated and does great work. And Zach's absolutely correct. So I misspoke with that. 5th edition, obviously, is the mainstream focus that we're looking at. I'm an OD&D geek, so hey, we're never going to give that up. It's good to be the CEO. And but TFT we're thinking about as well as a possibility. If we can find the right people, we may start doing some support there. And Steve and I are pretty good friends, and Phil and Zach are pretty good friends, which is always fun at a convention because the 4 of us can go to dinner and Steve and I can start talking and make Zach and Phil almost have heart attacks when the 2 of us start talking. But we'd have no deal there yet. So that I would like to support that.
You're speaking of Steve Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
you tell him he can't do anything until he finally gets the Car Wars Kickstarter going. Well, you know what? That was promised way back during when I backed the Ogre Kickstarter.
Yeah, I walked up with him too, and I told him that he owes us a bigger box and a
bigger box.
That's what he promised us, and he said that was not what he promised. You know, Steve Jackson's the nicest, most soft-spoken guy. He's like, well, you know, I really didn't promise a bigger box.
Well, have you seen Lance? Have you seen the Fantasy Trip box set yet?
No, I was.
Dude, it's freaking obscene. It's like seriously, it's like what 6 inches deep and it has like 30 things in it. It's 30 is an exaggeration. Probably has 15 or 20 things in it. It's Steve did a nice job on it, and
the best box, modern box I've ever seen for RPG.
Yeah, we have a shipping notice. It's going to be here in the next couple of weeks, Zach. I don't know if you got anything or not. I was early bird though, so I got my.
Yeah, I'm busy running a company. Supposedly, you told me earlier. So.
Exactly.
Oh, you're gonna make me sad because I didn't back it. I was thinking about backing it, and then I didn't. Oh well.
It'll be you're gonna get the legacy version, and you want that.
Come play.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Come play it with us at Gamehole. I'm sure Steve will hook you up.
Oh, okay.
It's like $100, man. For this, it's like it's ridiculous. I don't know how he does it. I mean,
for Bill to get excited about something modern, that really does a lot. Just so you know.
Well, I wouldn't say it's modern. It means I don't have to cut the counters apart from my second set of the ones that I've got from 30 years ago. That's what it really means, right? Because I've lost half the pieces for my original Melee and Wizard and that kind of thing. But anyway, so there's that.
So yeah, so that's one of the other possibilities. And
I'll cut this one up because it's mass produced. The old ones are kind of rare, so.
Well, there you go.
Other than that, a couple other things we do have on the horizon. We could talk to you till 2 a.m. I know this, and so I do want to make sure that we talk a little bit about our next Kickstarter. After this will be the first of it. It's a completely new adventure in the Lost Lands. It's actually written by Alex Kammer, who runs Gamehole, and it's a heavily sea-based adventure. And along that Kickstarter will be the book for the Duchy of Ream, the First Gazetteer. I'm excited about that one. That one's going to be real nice.
Lance,
shows the art, and it's really amazing.
So I got a funny story on this one. So Alex, as many of you know, has written a number of short modules, and he wrote a couple for me, for himself, and everything else in the past. So I was running about 2 years ago. I run a very ocean-based campaign. Like the guys have a ship and they sail around, they go explore islands and stuff like that. Well, anyway, so about 2 years ago, I was running a really Sahagin heavy adventure, right? And
is that how you pronounce it? I always thought it was Sahagin.
I don't know.
Sahagin.
Shark monsters.
Too many A's and U's, right? Anyway, so the Sea Devils campaign. And so I've got this thing, and I sent him a couple of maps. I said, Alex, man, I need a 24-page like Quest to Do module for Sea Devils for Sahagin. And he's like, no problem, I'm on it. And he called me about 3 months later, and he's like, I'm about 60,000 words, right? I was like, you're kidding me, right? I needed that's like 4 times bigger than what I wanted. And he goes, it's really forming up into this cool thing. And so we repurposed it because he'd done really good work, and I've read it. It's excellent. We repurposed it, and we were going to come out with a coastal geographic source book anyway, which is Ream, which Matt Finch is leading, and Anthony Pryor and Casey Christopherson and Ken Spencer have been working on with Matt. And so it was a logical fit. So instead of having the regional source book come out like the Borderlands, which is really similar to the Ream book, right? It's gonna be similar size, $40, 350 whatever pages, right?
So they're available together. So you'll be able to get one or the other, or we hope both.
Yeah.
And so that will be exciting. And then we have let's see what else. After that we have I think we're going to do we're doing Splinters of Faith again. We can say that now. That's coming out in 5e.
Yeah.
Storm Valley sometime.
Like a one big giant book, or are you going to split it up in a book?
Lance, one big giant book with, what was it, Zach, 40,000 words added?
Well, 60,000 words added. I just talked to Jeff Hartness yesterday. We talked to Gary, and they're adding it. They've changed the last stage and added an in-between plus a whole bunch of material for mechanical material to make it even more complete, because they always felt that they were rushed at the end, because publishing is what it is and writing is what it is. And now they have to do when I told them we were going to do it, we already had it converted. I just told Jeff that was happening, and he goes, "Oh, I got to add all this stuff." So we did. And he did it like really quickly. It's really awesome. That's coming. And then a lot of other things we could go on for. We got
Tome of Horrors. Tome of Horrors 2. Tome of Horrors 2 for 5e.
That's coming.
And of course, City Brass, by the way, has mailed to us. It's on a boat right now, so I'll be mailing that out probably around the middle to late April. So those of you who were on the Kickstarter, you're actually going to be getting your gigantic, 8-pound book again.
And I got the proofs on that, and they're really nice. Bunny's Bros will be out soon.
You got one, people? Do you have one of the dummy, the real ones?
Not the real ones. I just have all the internal pages.
Okay. Bunnies and Burrows. I have the soft covers. They're in hand. We're waiting on the map packs, and we're waiting on the real books on the slow boat from China again. So they're going to be here probably early May.
Teagle Manor.
We're waiting on the map, and those of you who back Teagle Manor, be patient with us. And here's the reason: everything's done except the map. And the deal is, Alyssa Faden has done
better than we hoped.
A masterpiece, the likes of which no one in the industry has ever seen on this map. You can see the chicken bones on the plates on the map. Chicken bones.
I was mentioned while you're out earlier. It really will be printable at 144 inches by 144 inches at a miniature scale quality, where you can see the chicken bones on the plate. And when she does a room, because Bill writes like this: there's a room full of skulls. Okay, well, Alyssa goes and makes literally 100 different skulls and does them. It doesn't just copy and move and change them.
Right. There's 141 skulls scattered about the room, and you count the thing and the thing, and
they're not the same skull copied like an object-oriented programming. It's just a new skull, and it is wild. And there's like a secret door has little bloody feet that go up to the secret door where the secret door kid went through it, but the door's closed, and there's bloody feet come back to where the chicken bones are. It's insane. It's the most insane level of detail I've ever seen on a fantasy map. It'll slow us down a couple months, but
she was worried about being late, and I just told her, don't hurry.
Not to hurry. The map was the key, and it's going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah, do what you're doing, and everything else is done. The character portraits are done. The text is done. The art's done. The book's all ready to go, but we're waiting on the map, and I do not want her to rush it. Partly because, Lance, you may already have read this at least, and Zach already knows this. That was the very first adventure I ran and the very first adventure I played in. So that was special to me.
And I was established with the Gladius, and we mean in the nicest way.
Yeah.
I actually had a question about the Teagle Manor. Did you ever decide to add the Deck of Many Things to it?
Oh, there is a Deck of Many Things.
Well, I know, but like an actual add-on as a Deck of Many Things.
We weren't able to. We could buy one.
Yeah,
that's true.
Mike Battlotto's got him, I think.
Yeah, he does. And we almost bought those to include in there, but he didn't have enough. So
fair enough.
A lot of it gets down to what fits in the box, because for those of you who have bought our stuff for more than 5 years, 5-6 years ago, Uline used to make these great boxes with the corner protectors, and they stopped, and then they wouldn't sell them to me because they don't make them anymore. So anyway, so I've been using boxes that are really thick, heavy cardboard, but they didn't have the corner protection I wanted. Anyway, so we fired them about a week ago, and we we're bringing in a custom box company. We actually signed a contract with them, I think, today. That's doing new boxes, and the trick is it's got to fit in the box, because the boxes were, well, we wrote, I'm writing a big check this week for a whole bunch of new custom boxes that have full corner protection. I took a wrap and Athlex, stuck it in one of the new boxes. It's got about a 1.5 inch rim around the outside. Dropped it from about 6 feet in the air, and it didn't dent the corner. So we're again, people pay $100 for a book, it should show up right.
And that's how we're solving. I'm going to interject here with my one story I feel obligated to tell, is that we were talking to the box company just 2 days ago, and we're on the phone, and I'm talking to the guy. We're talking about numbers and how many boxes and what kind of do it. What I hear in the background, I hear splashing. Because my boss is on the phone with me to the box company in his hot tub at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning.
I'm retired, man.
I know that the guy could hear it. And I was just trying to think, how on earth do you explain it? I didn't know it. So anyway, that was my story of the week, but this is what it's like to work here.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I didn't make my money working in a game company. I made it in other ways, but
it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, so you're gonna have that cloth tapestry map with this one again too, right? So people can hang that up on their wall and point to it and say, "You're here right now."
If you
we worked on the actual prototype of that when we did the thing in Chicago for the read through. Yeah. We've seen how nice it prints. Bill can attest to it.
Yeah. If you've never bought a cloth tapestry map from us before, you want one for the Lost Lands.
This isn't one from us behind us here, but it's the same material.
Yeah, it's they're waterproof. They're they don't run.
They don't stain.
And honestly, the Lost Lands world setting, it's really useful. It's because you can see everything all at once. You have the Zach. Don't you have the Lost Lands when we left it?
I left that with Mike in Texas.
Okay.
No, but but the nice thing is that I use the Barsgate one that for when I have game sessions locally for my local group. I throw that on a table, and then we use it on there, and you can point where you are in Barsgate. You're on, Webb Street, 1212, and you can point, and it goes on a table and it folds up, and I throw it in my car. So,
and you can wad it up. You can wad it up like you stuff it in your boot in your suitcase, and it pulls back out and doesn't wrinkle. They're really thick, some sort of horribly like cloth that doesn't stain, doesn't run, doesn't wrinkle. I mean,
we like them.
Yeah, we like them a lot. They're really nice. They're expensive to make, but they're nice. And again, we tried to find a cheaper variant, and Zach actually did a test copy for Teagle Manor that was going to be about 2/3 of the manufacturer cost. So it
was not near as good.
And they kind of sucked. And I don't want people to buy something like that. They go spend $80 or $100 or $150 on something. It's got to be really nice.
No, and that's I've had people commenting on the video, and like people have said, I don't care how much the book costs. I'll always buy a Frog God Games book because they know they're getting a quality book, and so it's worth the money that they spend. And I think that's the only thing that I ever hear is people like, "Oh man, it's like $100," and it's like it's really worth it. It's just like you go out and you spend $50 on an official, like D&D, a 5th edition D&D book from, and we're not saying they're bad, but I mean, those are like 1/5 the length, and, and it's just and they're not, like I said, necessarily a bad book, but, it's like you're getting a quality, really, really nice quality book, when you're spending the $100, and it shows.
And I'll say it here, the same thing I say, I think on our website and everywhere else, is if your book ever fails, right? If your binding breaks or the cover falls off or whatever else, and you didn't drive over it with a bulldozer, because I actually had that happen once. Though here I have a punchline on that though, which is actually really hilarious. So, but if I've got one in stock, I'll just give you a new one. Just call me, show me a photograph, you get a new book. No questions asked, right? So the bulldozer story. So I got a customer in South Africa, right? And this dude was like constantly, everything I shipped him just got smushed, and he sent me a photograph of a large priority box that had like 3 books in it, right? And it was U-shaped. The box was U-shaped. Someone had driven over it repeatedly with a truck. And the punchline is this: only the top book was damaged. The other two books inside were fine.
Oh man!
So I replaced like a Sword and Wizardry rule book or something for him, and everything else inside was fine. But yeah, we try and pack it really good. And that's what I'm actually really enthused about the new box company. We're spending some dough on it, just so everybody understands.
Has gotten worse since the time I've been at Frog God from back then. It's been harder to get good stuff, especially overseas, without damage from the way we've been doing it. So we're adjusting to that to make sure that our books get there in the quality we want them to be and you want them to be. And the new boxes, like I said, he threw it off a shelf, kicked it 5 feet, did everything else, and was not corner damage. So we were pleased.
Something worth mentioning. I know people are upset about overseas shipping prices. I hope everybody realizes there's nothing we can do about that. The only couple companies out there that are charging EU-friendly shipping and all this stuff are just eating the money. And I know a couple of them, and I know how much money they ate. I'm not going to say who they are or how much they ate, but it was mid five figures. You can't do it, man. There is no such thing. People are making it up. And they're maybe too afraid to have somebody in England not buy their book, at the point they're willing to give away the book for a negative $10. And we can't do that, because that's, we're not. It's not like this company doesn't make a lot of money. We're more than a hobby job, but our percent. Anybody on Wall Street would throw me off for our percent of profit.
Yeah,
but part of that is we do charge the actual shipping costs. We can pay the artist what the art's actually worth too. Yeah. I mean, the last person to get paid. One thing from working at Frog God I'm proud of is it goes in order of shareholders who gets paid last, and it's always Bill. And I moved up some shares since I first got here, so I moved up that ladder too. But the first people paid are freelancers, hands down. They get paid, and it goes all the way up. And so the kind of suffering from shipping, Bill takes it the hardest. That's why he takes it so personally. Yeah. But no, seriously, we do care about that. And by charging the actual shipping, we can pay artists what they're worth and the authors what they're worth. Because we're paying good money to people that are good people. They turn it on time. We pay them on time. We pay them fair. And that's important. That's why we can't lose money on shipping, because then we can't do that. So,
yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been talking now, and I'm like you said, we could talk all night. But is there any last parting words you want to talk about, the Lost Lands Kickstarter or anything else? I mean, the bottom line is that if you bought into the old Necromancer game stuff, I want to say this. I can remember back when I first got a hold of Greyhawk, and you were able to see the G1, 2, and 3, you were actually able to see what the area of the world where the giant, that when people, you're like, oh, I'm going to run you through these adventures, and you're
oh God's that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you would be and so for me, that's what this is going to be like. It's so if I want to play the Coils of Set, I'll be able to see
like this one. See?
Yes.
That's in there.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, that's the cool thing. So if you were an old fan of Necromancer games, or if you've been a fan of Frog God or whatever, now is the chance where finally this is weirdly some weird magnum opus type thing, where something I've been waiting for forever. I remember I used to bug you about it all the time. When are we going to get our book? When are we going to get our book? I used to say that to you whenever I had your ear, and now it finally is coming true. So I guess now I'm going to shut up.
Well, I'll tell you this. The thing about the Lost Lands world setting is it accommodates not only the currently existing 158 plus 2 in process. I think there's an Indiegogo next week too, right, Zach? So plus process. So 150, we're at 161 products all linked to it. And if you want to link 50 other products to it, it's portable enough and sandboxy enough you can do that. And so what it really will do for you is it'll provide you a, Robert E. Howard, whatever you want to call it, world setting that you can do whatever you want with. And then if you want to make 50 of your own books, we're gonna help you do that. If you want to make one of your own books, we're going to help you do that. And it provides a framework where Dungeons and Dragons stuff and occasionally sci-fi stuff, because I kind of mix the two.
Who he is, yeah.
Can happen. And so it's a lot of, I think there've been a lot of worlds out there that have tried to do what we're doing right now. I think the Judges Guild stuff came awful darn close, which is part of the reason I worked on it so much, and love it as much as I do. But I don't think anything's ever really done this. I mean, it sets a geographic basis for a gigantic world at a level of detail, Lance, that honest to God, no one's ever done. No one's ever done this. I mean, it's the level of effort that went into it. No one's ever done it because of the level of effort, and we've done it. We pulled it off.
And I mean, I guess you'd feel very foolish if, like I said, if you followed the company and you wanted to finally actually see the world, which, you know, I can't wait to have this book in my hands and just tell my entire family, you know what, I'm going to go downstairs and read. Don't bother me for like 8 hours. You know, and
the art in this one is really top notch. Casey Christopherson, who normally writes everything, does our art directing. He has gotten some of the art for this is just absolutely outstanding. I sent you some of it, but honestly, the stuff I couldn't send you yet that wasn't done, it's jaw-droppingly good. We are really investing heavy in making sure that the Lost Lands has the art it deserves, and I think it does.
I mean, you've seen a lot of our artists, Lance. There's you know, obviously Colin Chan, and he's back with a furious vengeance. He's the guy who did the cover. He's phenomenal. Michael Sirigos is in there. His work is phenomenal as well. Adrian Landros is actually a young guy that was one of Casey's students, I believe, in years gone by. His stuff is like creepy, Aztec-y, Egyptian-y. It's just it makes you like it makes you think Weird Tales magazine, and it's great. And then Casey found this gal named Santa. I can't pronounce her last name. Noviatos.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's blowing me away. She's so phenomenally good. It's just like it was just like what a find this gal is, and she pops out a piece like every 3-4 days. She's really talented. Terry Pavlet's in there someplace. Who else we got? I can't even remember. I'm forgetting.
You know, I can't remember if we're doing. To my defense, there's 18 things in production right now, and some at various levels. So I see art for all kinds of stuff. So I don't want to say that somebody that's in there that isn't, but we have a great scale of artists. But that stuff I know for sure is going to the Lost Lands book is the best art we've made.
Yeah, so. And my point being that we've got a stable. You're right, stable of fantastic artists. And then Casey found this new gal who was like as good as the other ones. And it was like, how the heck did you find her? And he's like, well, you know, he knew somebody who knew somebody type thing. And it was like, wow. And she's great. And so productive and just really, really, really talented. She's Eastern European, lives in Canada. And just does great.
It's going to look like it deserves to look. It's going to be a look that we're real proud of. And I know Bill's been personally invested in this project a lot more than he can't be invested in everything we do because we do so much, but this one's a big one for him. And so he's been pleased with the art, and I get to be as pleased when he's pleased with it because this is such an important project. I know it's good. So, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
So
Lost Lands.
There you go. So go check out the Kickstarter. You know, make sure you get your copy and get your awesome thing so you can then now spend the next 10 years of running campaigns and barely scratch the surface of everything that's out there. So
yeah. No, that's if you buy nothing, if you guys buy nothing else that we've ever done, this is the one to get because it'll give you a framework where you can run whatever you want to run. And it really provides like I said, we've done something different than anyone's ever done before. And that's the thing. When I was in Chicago, that's reading through that text and just going, oh my God, no one, how did we do this? How did we do this? You know, it's like,
it was impressive. Mark Greenberg deserves a huge amount of credit for the work. Greg Vaughn deserves a huge amount of credit for saying it. There are a lot of people who worked very hard to make this one of the best projects.
It's a 20-person project. This is a 20-person project.
And
I guided it, but that was all I did. I gave them a map with some dots and told them what was there, and then they wrote it. I mean, I wrote a piece of it, but you get my drift.
I get your drift. So,
yeah.
All right, my man. Well, guys, Zach, Bill, thank you so much for joining me this evening, and thanks for the people that tuned in to watch this live, and for those of you who are watching this after the fact, thanks a lot. And I don't know.
All right, man.
You guys have an awesome evening.
Go Vikings! Go Vikings!
Yeah, Skol!
Back Lost Lands, man.
Yeah, and if you've backed it, back it again.